how y'all doing? I am Matt Miner. I would like to begin this evening by thanking Malvern Books, everybody here at Malvern Books, for giving me this opportunity. I'd also like to thank my publicist and friend Danielle for everything she's done in helping put this together. As the gentleman said, I work in state politics. I work in the Texas legislative body. And I can't remember who coined the phrase, but there was somebody that said, politics is Hollywood for ugly people. And at some point, working in that, and that is on not necessarily all the time on the outside, but most definitely on the inside. And when you work in that environment long enough, you find yourself in need of some sort of a catharsis. And so I had been writing novels for a while. I had a few that just kind of lingered, in my documents on my computer, and never did anything with them. And then I discovered that I could distill my experiences in politics to some degree into fiction. But I have to say, a disclaimer here, I do have to be careful what I do because I could be fired. One of the things I have to, people always ask me is this about someone in particular? And the answer is absolutely no. The book that I'm going to read from this evening is called The Representative. It is a fiction novel about the mishaps of the world's hippest legislator, a guy by the name of John David Dothan. He is a romantic, a poet, and who's kind of lost his way. Through his experiences, he's generally chronicled by his sidekick, who is his inexperienced chief of staff named Tryphena. The novel opens up with an incident that instigates essentially the plot of the book, which I will get to. What I'm going to try to do here is read several excerpts, and as I get to each excerpt, I'll explain to you what's going on. Here's chapter 1, part 1. The high-definition screen illuminated perfectly the charred remnants of a little arm swinging like a metronome from a blackened bus window. The pressure from the extinguishing hose rocked the crowded, formerly yellow vehicle. Firemen raced about in the background through a thinning film of smoke. In the foreground, a network reporter spoke into a trembling microphone, repeating the same two lines. Who could do such a thing? And the sky reeks of burning tires. State Senator Reed Jackson stood very close to the suspended television, turning his good ear slightly upward. The volume was down very low so as not to disturb his wife Jill, who slept in the hospital bed behind him. When the breaking news flash finished, he clicked the apparatus off. For some moments he sat staring at the blob that was now his beloved wife of 50 years. Reed thought it cruel that one so emaciated could possess such little shape. But this is cancer, he reconciled. For the 8th state senator, all was part of God's plan. There was reason for everything. We are not meant to understand. He felt his cell phone vibrating from the pocket of his black suit. He stepped quietly out of the room to take the call. Yes, Governor, what is it? Reed, my God, have you been watching the news? Have you heard what has just happened down in McAllen? Oh, yes, sir, I was just watching. Despicable. What kind of sick son of a bitch would blow up a school bus filled with elementary school children? If I had to guess, I would say it was the cartel, sir. The Gulf Cartel, to be exact. But why? The federal amnesty law paved the way for legitimate trafficking. The cartels now have legal competition. This was most likely done to deter that competition and will no doubt be persuasive. I doubt any church groups or do-gooder organizations will venture into this area, not after this. What can we do? Ever since the federal amnesty bill became law some months back, I've been thinking about just that. I suggest you call for a select joint committee on immigration reform to address the immigration issue. We will need it to be a mixture of Republican and Democrat. It must be bipartisan. Do you think the Dems will play along? The general election is in less than 2 weeks. Everyone who voiced his or her support for amnesty will be running for the exit, sir. This is Texas's 9/11. To answer your question, yes, I believe the Dems will play along. Speaking of the general, it looks like Harry is going to get clobbered. Did you have any idea he was involved in those things? Harry is the personality of an addict. Years ago, I cured him of one addiction. I suppose his great flaw is that he is in need of a vice. But no, of course, I had no idea. This is unacceptable. I am disgusted. Do you have anyone in mind for the committee? The governor asked in an attempt to reroute the discussion to less personal and more productive aims. This terrorist attack occurred in McAllen, along the border. That's Representative Ron Martinez's district. I will call him shortly. This can't wait, Reed, the governor implored. I understand, but I am at the hospital right now. It will have to wait, sir. Skip a little forward to part 2 of chapter 1. And this introduces the representative who we will meet here shortly, his sidekick in his adventures, Tryphena Taylor, who is his chief, about to be his chief of staff. Though the rain had subsided, the weather now took a turn for the worse. The dark country road shot with certainty into an increasingly confident mist. Within this fog bank traveled someone wholly uncertain. Damn it, where is it? Tryphena mumbled tensely as her right hand blindly sifted through her purse, which sat in the passenger seat. Having located her cell phone, she then began the dangerous process of dialing the proper contact. The car, a Mustang nearly 10 years old, had slowed to a glorified roll. The brights were promptly switched on. Answer, please answer, she pleaded as a fragmented ring became audible in her ear. Hello, a deep voice asked, cutting in and out. Warren? Yes? This is Tryphena. Can you hear me? Tryphena, yes, I can hear you, but not very well. Already done with the interview. How did it go? It didn't go. Not yet. I'm not there yet. What? Why not? It's after 8. Warren, I'm lost. I have no idea where I'm at. The road has vanished. There are no streetlights. I don't know what to do. Okay, calm down. Are you following your GPS? Why has the road vanished? Warren, I don't have GPS. While this conversation dragged on, in confused frustration, a neon smudge appeared through the numerous running cracks of the Mustang's front windshield. A neon Pex barbecue gradually took form. I'm here. Oh my God, Tryphena shouted, slamming on her brakes. You found it? Yes, I'll call you back. She hung up and pulled the Mustang off the road. Gravel popped under the worn tires. The young woman, freshly graduated from college, let go a deep sigh, opened her car door, and stepped into the dank November night. God, I hope he won, she muttered to herself. Jesus Christ, she nervously complained as her dark blue pump struggled across the rocky parking lot. Tryphena was late, very late, nearly an hour. As she walked towards the entrance of Peck's Barbecue, her head swam with doubt. What kind of a Democrat has a victory party at a hick barbecue place? I bet this place is all white people. They won't understand my name. I'll have to repeat it again and again. Country music roared as she opened the heavy wooden door. Rich meat smells hit her like a soiled diaper. The fresh graduate was correct. It looked to be all white people. She surveyed the long, skinny room of littered tables and searched for the face she knew only from a shitty website, newspapers, and mail advertisements. No one distinguished themselves. Excuse me, I'm looking for candidate Dothan, she asked, a trashy patron who stood leering into the jukebox selection screen. Over there, the woman answered, gum smacking, her nibbles apparent through her white tank top. Tryphena took a deep breath, zeroed in on the respective spot, and made her way through a tangle of tables. Where'd I go? To a tangle of tables. Dothan's short, jet black hair caught her radar, although his back was turned to her. He sat talking diligently to a table full of white-collar men without jackets. As she approached him from behind, suddenly he turned in his chair and addressed her. You, he declared, pointing his finger straight at her. The woman was completely taken aback. She stopped in her tracks and stiffened. What do you prefer, he paused, black or African American? I don't really mind. I'm not easily offended, she answered smugly, tightly clenching her eyebrows involuntarily. Good answer, Dothan replied definitively, without a hint of self-consciousness. He turned back towards the table of men and continued the discussion. That was the first meeting of our hero and his heroine. I will skip now to when Dothan meets the vice chair, Ron Martinez, who comes into play later in the book. The Committee on Immigration Reform, the Select Joint Committee, which is senators and representatives, has been created, and Ron Martinez is a Democrat vice chair of this committee. He's a representative. Apart from the obvious anxiety over his new responsibilities, Dothan awaited the mixture of trepidation and embarrassment with the arrival of his new chief of staff. New Year's, just the prior week, was still in the forefront of his crowded mind. He had not spoken with Tryphena since that stained evening. He'd gone over in his head countless times, searching for an excuse. He still had little confidence in his ability to exonerate himself in her eyes. Although January, Austin was hot enough for sweat marks to appear beneath his white shirt as he walked to and from his truck. As he made his way down the long hall towards his new office, with numerous wall ornaments under each arm, a smiling figure stopped to introduce himself. "How are you? I'm Ron Martinez," the fellow representative said, extending his hand. "Ron, I'm John David Dothan. Pleased to meet you, sir. Let me help you with those, John David. Please, call me J.D., Ron." Just as I thought, you're my new neighbor. Thank God. A fellow Democrat, too," Martinez said as the two entered Dothan's office. "We're becoming a scarce commodity around here these days, huh? No doubt." After viewing the pictures that the two comrades had just set against the freshly painted wall, Martinez commented, "Interesting choice of decoration, J.D. Most guys around here have Texana they hang from their walls. Sam Houston, Jim Bowie. But you, David Bowie, Elvis Costello, you too. This is rock and roll, man." "Yeah, well, that was my former profession. I seem to remember reading something about that. How does a rock singer make it into the state legislature?" "I thought it was a logical extension. Like my wife says, you pick the one thing sleazier than the music business." All right, we're going to jump to Dothan's disgraced opponent, who was basically caught with underage prostitutes and was excoriated in the campaign. And he is old friends with the chairman of the Select Joint Committee, Senator Reed Jackson, who I read from, who opens the book. "Harry, this is Reed. You have a minute? Reed, how are you? How's the new session going? Any trouble from that twerp that beat me?" "Well, as a matter of fact, that's why I called, Harry. I'm chair on the Select Joint Committee." "With him. The Speaker was the one who appointed him. It's the Committee for Immigration Reform, vice chaired by, get this, Ron Martinez." "Martinez, that goddamn communist. What the hell is the Speaker, the Lieutenant Governor, the damned governor, for Christ's sakes, thinking?" "The governor is responsible, I think. He believes it gives legitimacy because he's a Democrat and Hispanic. Martinez is a sellout. I'll let him strut. I think he believes this will put him on the path to the governor's mansion at some point. So tell me about that little bastard Dothan. What's his role? You wouldn't be calling if something wasn't fishy." "Well, he's become Martinez's right-hand man. They office next door to each other, by the way. God almighty. I've got Logan in my corner, however." "Logan?" "Yes, you remember Rachel Logan, state senator out of Fort Worth." "You mean your brunette protege out of Fort Worth?" "Yes, that's the one," Reed confirmed, a squirm detectable in his voice. "You got to get that son of a bitch, Dothan. You just got to." "Yes, I know, Harry. What he did to you was truly terrible, truly terrible." "Are you kidding me? He ruined my life, Reed, ruined it." "Yes, I know, Harry. How he won the election should go down in the book of Revelations. He needs his balls cut off is what he needs. I hate to ask this, but how are the divorce proceedings going? I'm losing it all. I think about killing myself all the time now, you know." "The Lord will judge you harshly, Harry. Will Jane never forgive you? It's not like it was statutory rape. I don't think the 1 year and the age of that slut, I mean that girl, makes a difference to Jane. Look, I fucked it up. And it wasn't just that one. I couldn't control myself. I knew it was wrong. I just couldn't stop it. Being with those girls made me feel like something other than a gray-haired old man, even if they were just prostitutes. But to be brought down by an out-of-work guitar player." All right. So I don't know. I'm probably running out of time here. All right. I'll stop for questions. That got us through chapter 8. So, no, I'm not up for being indicted for anything. I'm a pretty clean guy. Yes?
What fiction writers do you admire?
Okay. Good question. I've always had a proclivity for literature. I would have to say my favorite writer of all time, if I had to say I had a favorite writer, was Graham Greene. I think if there's anything that my writing consciously or unconsciously strives towards is to kind of, I don't want to say imitate because it's not like anything else really, but it is somewhat modeled after the way Greene was able to weave in politics, romance, his struggle with Catholicism, not that I'm a Catholic, all these different issues and blend it into a compelling tale. After that, I really enjoy Chris Rogers, who's sitting right there. I was in the middle of her book, Emissary, and it's very interesting. I'm not a science fiction guy at all, but frankly, I have not finished the book, but in all honesty, it's very intelligent in a way that a lot of stuff today that's fantasy oriented isn't, and I strongly recommend it. I like a lot of poets, D.H. Lawrence. I like D.H. Lawrence's novels. W.B. Yeats was something I read a lot. I liked Hemingway. The Sun Also Rises is one of my favorite books. Just the metaphor usage there. I generally stick to literature. Some of the more popular recent fiction is Nelson DeMille. I've read some James Patterson. But generally I'm a literary guy. Sorry, I know that was a long way around the barn. I didn't rehearse this. Any other questions? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
How closely does your book follow the things that you've learned since you've been working in politics?
This one is somewhat loose. I use a lot of imagination in this one. In the book I have another book that will hopefully be out in the next couple of months. It's called The District Manager, and this book is set in a place called House District 100, which is there's an actual House District 100, but my House District 100 is on the Texas coast, and that's where the John David Dothan is from. Something happens to him, a new guy takes over, and the district manager is the guy that operates this district. And to answer your question, in the next book, it's going to mimic a lot that I've learned. One thing I've learned about politics, and I've worked in Texas politics from the state all the way down to the municipal level. I mean, I've dealt with everything on every level. And the place where, a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but the state of Texas is not that bad, poorly run. It's actually run, there's a lot of things we need to do, but when you look at other states that are a disaster, Texas actually is not that bad. And there's a lot of bipartisanship in the State House. It just doesn't get reported by the Texas Tribune. The corruption in Texas politics is on the county level because it's completely, almost absolutely incestuous. I mean, the sheriff is related to the county judge. The local paper is the sister-in-law of the district attorney. I mean, it is unbelievable the things that you see on a county level, and that I've seen. I mean, DAs that are now the DAs that took over for their father, who when their father was DA, exonerated them for killing someone in a drunk driving accident. Yeah. I mean, this kind of stuff goes on right and left. To sum it up, this book is more imagination than fact and bending of reality. The next book is raw, staunch realism, and it's also in first person. Yes, sir.
So what level of experience in county politics or government? What did you do in which counties and for how long?
You're trying to get me fired, right? This is going to be up on the House website.
That's fine. I'm just curious. I was in the county a little bit.
Okay, working now. When you go into the cities, it becomes a little bit more vague, and it's more like the deal for the road, the paving of the road, and who's twisting TxDOT's arm, and this and that, and what contractor gets this. It's more about money. What I've seen, how I've dealt with counties. My office is a conduit between state government and all other types of government, whether it be municipal, federal, or county. So I deal with all these officials, federal as well. I continuously get brought into conflicting issues between either two different elected officials or a city and a state agency. I'm essentially the world's either greatest or most unfortunate middleman ever born because I have to deal with all these problems that all these different entities create, and I see it from every angle. Where I really see it more than anything, in my opinion, I mean, if I were elected to the state house, the two committees I would want to be on would be criminal jurisprudence and the corrections. The prison system in this state is pathetic. It's basically one of two things. It's a recruitment tool for the drug cartels. 1 in 4 inmates that is incarcerated over on the third incarceration. 1 out of those, which is most, 1 of those 4 inmates is going to be recruited by the drug cartels. It's basically a recruitment tool, and it's things like that. And you see how these DAs, to make a name for themselves, continuously, I think, over-prosecute non-violent offenders that end up going into the prison system, and they went in basically just being drug addicts. They came out ready basically to run drugs and human trafficking. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. And I've seen it firsthand. It's terrible. Sorry, now I'm pontificating.
Interestingly.
No, my name's not on a ballot anywhere, I promise.
So
Yes.
your office is a conduit for all 2 of the counties, so...
No. It's a conduit for the counties that we operate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. And that's 3 counties, and then we in conjunction. I know I need to get off. I'm sorry. In conjunction with the Senate Senate district, which is another 21 counties. So it's essentially the entire Gulf Coast from Houston down to Corpus Christi, up to Bastrop. That whole chunk, I deal with that. So it's a lot of people, a lot, and you'd be amazed at some of the people that get elected to office on a county level. All right, I think I've gone way too long. I apologize, Boyd, I really do.
Can I ask one question?
Enjoyed it.
Can I ask one question about your music?
Yes, ma'am.
Your background? Your music, what did you do? Where did you play?
Well, that was a long time ago. I made a living as a country singer for about 10 years. And I started out in Nashville. I worked for a recording studio that did demos, professional publishing demos for Bug Music, which is Warren Chapel. And then I met David Sanger, who's a guy that lives here in Austin. He's a drummer for Asleep at the Wheel.
Yeah.
And I came back here, recorded an album with him. He produced it and released it on Texas Music Roundup, which at that point in time was a very large syndicated record label. And played about 250 shows a year. Realized I wasn't going to be able to make money with my own stuff, and kind of sold out and started just doing cover gigs, anything I could, and was making actually a lot of money doing that. And that's how I got into politics, because I started playing political functions. And people would be like, well, hey man, you need to get into politics. And I was like, yeah. And then 2008, when the economy crashed, everything sunk and all my work dried up, and I went into politics. So there you go. Thank you.